Welcome to Conspiracy Files with Zoe Parker. I'm your host, Zoe Parker, and in today's episode, we're diving into one of the most bizarre and reality-bending mysteries of our time. Is our world exactly as we remember it, or have some things shifted? From misremembered movie quotes to historical oddities, today we explore the Mandela Effect. Is it a glitch in the Matrix, or proof that reality itself is not what it seems? The term Mandela Effect was first coined in the early 2000s by researcher Fiona Broome after she discovered that a large number of people, herself included, remembered Nelson Mandela dying in a South African prison during the 1980s. In reality, Nelson Mandela was released from prison in the year 1990, went on to become president of South Africa, and died in the year 2013. This collective false memory was so striking and widespread that it prompted Broome to investigate further. What she found was not an isolated case, but a pattern. People from all walks of life, across continents and cultures, were reporting identical false memories. These were not vague recollections or obscure details. They were concrete, specific, and emotionally charged. The phenomenon began to gain traction online, particularly in forums and communities where users exchanged stories of shared misremembered facts. These ranged from the spelling of popular brand names to the locations of countries on maps, and even to famous lines in classic films. The more people compared notes, the more disturbing it became. At first, mainstream culture dismissed the Mandela Effect as a collective failure of memory, an interesting psychological quirk. But over time, the number of examples and the intensity of belief behind them grew. Many who experienced these shifts insisted that they were not simply forgetting or misremembering. They were adamant that something had changed, not just their memories, but reality itself. Historically, mass misremembering has been attributed to the malleability of human memory. Studies in cognitive science have long shown that memories are not fixed snapshots, but rather reconstructions that can be altered over time. Influences such as suggestion, social reinforcement, and the passage of time all play a role. However, the Mandela Effect appears to stretch beyond normal cognitive behavior. Entire populations recall the same wrong details despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. The consistency of these false memories across vast demographics has puzzled psychologists and researchers alike. One widely discussed example is the children's book series, The Berenstain Bears. Thousands of people, particularly those who grew up in the 1980s and 1990s, distinctly remember it being spelled Berenstein, ending with an EIN. Yet every physical copy and digital record now shows Berenstain with an AIN. This discrepancy has sparked heated debates and even led to accusations of retroactive alteration. This phenomenon cannot be easily explained by the usual mechanisms of memory distortion. It challenges long-standing assumptions about the reliability of the past. If memory is unreliable, how can multiple people misremember the exact same detail in the exact same way? For many, these questions hint at something much deeper. Is it possible that reality itself has shifted? Could we be dealing with more than just psychological error? Perhaps something that touches the very nature of time, consciousness, or the structure of the universe. As the list of examples grew, so did speculation. Was this a new discovery in the field of mass psychology? A hidden function of the human brain that science had yet to identify? Or was it something stranger, something far more unsettling? As the Mandela Effect gained traction, a curious pattern began to emerge. People who reported experiencing it often came from unrelated backgrounds, lived in different countries, and had no prior connection to one another. Yet they described the same altered memories with remarkable consistency. Some of these discrepancies were subtle, like the color of a logo or the spelling of a name. Others were profound, involving historical events, geography, or even the deaths of public figures. One of the most frequently cited examples is the well-known line from the Star Wars film franchise. Many people clearly recall the villain Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father." But in every official version of the film, the line is actually, "No, I am your father." This subtle shift has been unsettling to fans who insist they remember the original line word for word, repeated endlessly in pop culture impressions and parodies. Another popular example comes from the Snow White fairy tale. Generations grew up hearing the phrase, "mirror, mirror on the wall," yet official records now show it as "magic mirror on the wall." Similar examples have surfaced in other areas. The Monopoly Man, the mascot of the board game, is often remembered as having a monocle, but in reality, he never wore one. The Fruit of the Loom logo is widely recalled as featuring a cornucopia, yet there is no evidence it ever did. The name of the snack, Febreze, is another point of confusion. Many people are certain it was spelled with 2 E's in the middle, like Febreze, but all packaging today reflects only one. Even the spelling of the word dilemma has been disputed. Some recall a mysterious silent N in the middle, spelled dilemna, a version that has no basis in print or etymology. The scope of these anomalies is not limited to language and branding. Entire geographical locations have reportedly changed in the minds of those who claim to experience the effect. People describe New Zealand being in a different place relative to Australia, or Sri Lanka being on the wrong side of India. In more extreme cases, some claim that continents themselves appear to be out of place. The consistency of these recollections has prompted some to speculate that individuals are retaining memories from a previous version of reality. Several individuals have risen to prominence within Mandela Effect communities, not as scientists or psychologists, but as observers and curators of memory anomalies. They compile lists, archive examples, and encourage open dialogue around discrepancies. Fiona Broom, who coined the term, became a central figure in the growing movement. Her website became a hub for others who felt isolated in their confusion, offering a place to compare notes, find validation, and search for answers. The collective effort of these amateur archivists has transformed the Mandela Effect from an internet curiosity into a cultural phenomenon. Videos, forums, and social media groups dedicated to cataloging new examples appear regularly. The sense of urgency among believers is clear. Many feel something is deeply wrong, that reality has shifted, and the only remaining evidence lies in the shared memories of those who still remember how it used to be. Whether these memories are psychological artifacts or remnants of an altered past, they have sparked a global movement of questioning what we believe is true. Among the many examples fueling the Mandela Effect conversation, some stand out as particularly compelling due to the emotional weight or cultural significance they carry. One such case involves the death of American evangelist Billy Graham. A notable number of people insist they remember televised coverage of his funeral as far back as the early 2000s. They recall details such as commentary from major news anchors, public tributes, and even eulogies. Yet official records show Billy Graham died in February of the year 2018. No mainstream explanation accounts for the earlier memories. The question remains, how could so many people misremember such a high-profile event with such clarity? Another widely discussed case involves the location of the human heart. Many were taught in school that the heart is located on the left side of the chest. Yet today, medical diagrams and scientific consensus describe the heart as being in the center of the chest, slightly tilted. For those experiencing the Mandela Effect, this shift is not simply an update in an anatomy education. It is viewed as a literal change in human biology that contradicts what they were once taught and vividly remember. Yet another controversial example revolves around the historical event known as Tank Man, the unidentified protester who stood in front of a line of tanks during the Tiananmen Square protests in 1989. Some people strongly recall footage showing the man being run over by the lead tank, a horrifying moment seared into their memory. But no such footage exists today. The historical record shows the tank stopped, and the man climbed onto the vehicle before being led away. The belief that the event once played out differently is so widespread that entire threads online are devoted to debating which version is true, the documented one or the remembered one. A stranger case involves the famous painting The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. People have reported subtle but disturbing changes in the details of the painting, such as facial expressions, hand positions, or background elements. These changes are difficult to verify given the variations between reproductions, but for those convinced, it is further proof that something deeper is happening. They argue that these are not simple inconsistencies or faulty memories, but signs of reality shifting in ways that cannot be easily explained. Supporters of the Mandela Effect have gathered these cases and many more into online archives, discussion boards, and video documentaries. They argue that the sheer volume of shared, specific, and emotionally charged memories cannot be brushed aside as collective error. To them, this is not about isolated slips of the mind, but evidence that the world itself may be undergoing quiet but profound changes. This has led to a variety of theories attempting to explain what might be causing the Mandela Effect. Some suggest that it is the result of quantum entanglement, or parallel universes bleeding into one another. Others believe that time itself is being manipulated, that history has been edited, or that some external intelligence is altering aspects of our world in ways we do not yet understand. These explanations vary in complexity and credibility, but they share a common trait: the belief that reality is not fixed, and that our memories may be the only proof that something is amiss. Supporters of the Mandela Effect often point to quantum mechanics as a possible framework for understanding what they believe is happening. One of the most commonly cited concepts is the idea of parallel realities. According to this theory, our universe is not singular, but one of many, an infinite series of alternate timelines existing side by side. Within this multiverse model, each timeline may differ slightly, with its own history, events, and details. Some theorists suggest that individuals who remember alternate versions of history may have somehow crossed into a different timeline, retaining memories from the one they left behind. This notion draws inspiration from real scientific discussions in quantum physics. The many worlds interpretation, first proposed by physicist Hugh Everett in the year 1957, posits that all possible outcomes of a quantum event actually occur in separate, branching realities. Though this theory was once seen as fringe, it has since gained traction in theoretical physics. It remains speculative and unproven, but it provides a plausible foundation for believers to suggest that small, unexplained changes in reality could be side effects of shifts between timelines. Other explanations are more grounded in technology. Some theorists believe that powerful institutions may be experimenting with time travel or timeline manipulation. This idea is often tied to alleged secret projects, such as the rumored Project Looking Glass, a classified operation supposedly designed to view or alter timelines. While no official evidence of such a project has surfaced, it remains a recurring theme in conspiracy circles, especially among those searching for causes behind Mandela Effect phenomena. A different angle points to high-energy experiments conducted at facilities such as the European Organization for Nuclear Research, more commonly known as CERN. In particular, some have speculated that the activation of the Large Hadron Collider in 2008, the world's most powerful particle accelerator, may have inadvertently affected the structure of reality. The collider smashes particles together at near light speeds, attempting to recreate conditions just moments after the Big Bang. Critics of this theory argue there is no evidence connecting particle collisions to temporal shifts, but Mandela Effect believers remain intrigued. They note that the increase in Mandela Effect reports seemed to surge in the years following CERN's major experiments. For many people experiencing these memory anomalies, it is not just about the explanations. It is about the emotional certainty they feel. They are not guessing or unsure. They describe a kind of visceral knowing, a confidence that something has changed, even if the world around them insists otherwise. This certainty is reinforced by the number of others who share identical memories. It creates a feedback loop where the more people who believe, the more validated each individual feels. Despite the lack of physical proof, some Mandela Effect supporters attempt to find residue, small, overlooked remnants of the old reality. These could include outdated logos on old products, references in older media, or even typos in books and websites that reflect the remembered version instead of the current one. To believers, these fragments are not mistakes, but clues that something deeper is occurring. Whether these anomalies are the result of altered timelines, quantum interference, or hidden experiments, they remain at the heart of a growing mystery. Skeptics of the Mandela effect offer a very different interpretation, grounded not in physics or secret technologies, but in the nature of memory itself. From their perspective, the phenomenon is not evidence of shifting realities, but a fascinating showcase of how flawed and malleable human memory can be. Psychologists have long known that memory is not a perfect recording device. It is reconstructive, meaning that each time a memory is recalled, it is rebuilt, influenced by context, suggestion, and emotion. One explanation offered by cognitive scientists is the concept of confabulation. This refers to the brain's tendency to fill in gaps in memory with fabricated details that feel real. These errors are often unconscious and can be triggered by external cues. For example, if someone mishears a phrase and repeats it often enough, their brain may eventually encode it as truth. Over time, the inaccurate version becomes indistinguishable from genuine memory. Another relevant concept is the misinformation effect. This occurs when exposure to incorrect or misleading information after an event alters a person's memory of that event. It is a well-documented psychological phenomenon and has been demonstrated in countless studies. Researchers have shown that people can be led to remember entirely false events, especially when misinformation is delivered with confidence or authority. In the context of the Mandela effect, skeptics argue that the internet acts as a powerful amplifier for misinformation, allowing false memories to spread quickly and gain legitimacy through repetition. The role of cultural reinforcement also cannot be ignored. Many of the most famous Mandela effect examples are drawn from pop culture. Movies, advertisements, logos, and catchphrases. These are not static artifacts. They evolve over time, often becoming distorted through parody, repetition, and commercialization. A misquoted line from a movie may become so popular that it eclipses the original. This is likely the case with the phrase, "Luke, I am your father," which, although incorrect, became widely accepted through years of impressions and references. Skeptics also point to the concept of false consensus. This is the tendency for individuals to assume that their beliefs or memories are more widely shared than they actually are. In online communities, this can create an echo chamber where users validate each other's false memories, reinforcing the illusion that their version of reality is correct. Algorithms on social media platforms often exacerbate this effect by serving users more of what they already believe, reducing exposure to contradictory evidence. To further challenge the Mandela effect, some critics have attempted to trace the origins of specific claims. In the case of the Berenstain Bears, for example, researchers have located book editions and promotional material from decades past that clearly show the current spelling. These materials are consistent, suggesting that the memory error comes not from a change in reality, but from a long-standing assumption that the name should follow a more common spelling pattern, like Einstein. Despite these arguments, skeptics acknowledge that the Mandela effect is more than just a collection of mistaken memories. It is a psychological and cultural phenomenon worth studying. What makes it remarkable is not simply that people remember things differently, but that they remember them the same way, and with such conviction. Whether it is a glitch in the mind or a glitch in the matrix, it raises deep questions about how we define truth, trust our memories, and perceive the world around us. As the Mandela effect continues to ripple through public consciousness, its implications stretch far beyond questions of memory accuracy. It opens the door to larger conversations about perception, belief, and the collective nature of reality itself. If thousands, sometimes millions of people can remember the same event incorrectly, what does that say about the fabric of shared experience? Is consensus truth simply the version of reality agreed upon by the majority? Or is it something more fragile, something that can shift, fracture, or be overwritten? For many believers, the Mandela effect is not just about individual recollection. It is about waking up to the idea that reality may be fluid, and that mainstream narratives cannot always be trusted. In this way, the phenomenon overlaps with deeper themes found in other conspiracy theories: suspicion of authority, distrust in institutions, and the belief that hidden forces may be manipulating human perception on a massive scale. The Mandela effect has, in some circles, become a gateway theory, a starting point that leads people to explore broader ideas about simulated realities, secret experiments, or spiritual awakenings. In psychological terms, this belief system can be both empowering and destabilizing. On one hand, it offers a sense of discovery, a feeling of being part of something bigger, something mysterious. On the other hand, it can create dissonance. If your memories no longer match the world around you, it challenges the very foundation of your identity. After all, memory is not just about facts. It is how we define who we are. It tells us where we have been, what we have felt, and what we believe to be true. Some researchers believe that the rise of the Mandela Effect reflects a deeper societal anxiety. In an age of digital information, where facts can be edited, deleted, or rewritten, people may be grappling with the loss of a stable, objective reality. News stories are updated in real time. Historical records are digitized and corrected. Search engines shape what we see and what we do not. In this context, the Mandela Effect becomes a symbolic response, a way to make sense of a world where the ground seems to be constantly shifting. There is also a generational aspect to consider. Many of the most passionate Mandela Effect discussions come from individuals who grew up in the 1980s and 1990s, a transitional period marked by the rise of mass media, the internet, and digital archiving. These generations are uniquely positioned to notice when things feel off, because they lived through a period of rapid change and cultural transformation. The Mandela Effect may in part be a reflection of that collective transition, a lingering sense that the world they remember is not the world they now inhabit. And yet, for all its cultural weight, the Mandela Effect remains deeply personal. Whether it involves a childhood book, a song lyric, or a historical event, the experience of discovering a Mandela Effect moment often provokes a powerful reaction: confusion, intrigue, even grief. It forces people to confront the possibility that reality may not be as stable or trustworthy as they once believed. And in doing so, it raises one of the most profound and unsettling questions a person can ask. What else have we forgotten? Or worse, what else has been changed without our knowing? The Mandela Effect has not only influenced personal beliefs, but has also found its way into the cultural mainstream, subtly reshaping how media, entertainment, and even science fiction approach the concept of reality. Television shows, films, and online platforms have begun to weave the phenomenon into their storytelling, drawing inspiration from its unsettling implications. Entire episodes have been built around characters questioning their own memories, timelines shifting without warning, and past events rewriting themselves while the rest of the world remains unaware. This blending of fiction and phenomenon has only added fuel to the fire, reinforcing the idea that the Mandela Effect is not just a curiosity, but a legitimate cultural force. Social media has played a critical role in spreading and amplifying the effect. Platforms like YouTube, Reddit, and TikTok have become hubs where users post proof of altered realities, including side-by-side comparisons of logos, video clips, and archived images. Some creators specialize in producing deep dive content that catalogs new Mandela Effect examples as they are discovered, encouraging viewers to test their memories and share their reactions. These platforms serve as both echo chambers and archives, creating spaces where believers can build communal validation while skeptics struggle to keep pace with the rapidly growing database of disputed memories. Even the scientific community has begun to acknowledge the Mandela Effect's impact on public discourse. While most researchers continue to attribute the phenomenon to well-established principles of psychology and cognition, they are also beginning to study how belief in altered realities influences behavior, perception, and critical thinking. The phenomenon has become a case study in how information spreads, how collective memory is shaped, and how technology influences what we accept as true. In this way, the Mandela Effect has become not just a psychological curiosity, but a sociological one, a mirror reflecting the fragility of shared knowledge in the digital age. The media, too, has played a double role, both as observer and participant. News outlets and online publications have covered the Mandela Effect with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Some frame it as a modern folklore phenomenon, comparing it to urban legends or mass hallucinations. Others approach it more seriously, conducting interviews with those who experience the effect and compiling detailed lists of the most compelling examples. This visibility has helped legitimize the topic, allowing it to escape the confines of internet subcultures and enter the wider public imagination. What makes the Mandela Effect particularly fascinating to media theorists is its recursive nature. As the phenomenon becomes more widely known, it creates new layers of influence. People who were previously unaware of a supposed memory discrepancy may begin to doubt their own recollections after being exposed to it. This effect, where the observation of a memory anomaly creates more belief in that anomaly, raises difficult questions about the role of suggestion, narrative, and repetition in shaping what we believe to be true. The Mandela Effect challenges the assumption that consensus equals truth. It forces us to confront how much of our reality is shaped not by objective evidence, but by what we have been told, what we remember, and what we are encouraged to believe. In doing so, it has become more than a mystery to solve. It has become a cultural lens, one that reveals how easily the past can be rewritten and how vulnerable our perception of reality may truly be. Beyond the mainstream explanations and psychological theories lies a deeper and more speculative layer of the Mandela Effect, one rooted in fringe science, metaphysical belief systems, and esoteric thought. These interpretations do not seek to debunk the phenomenon or reduce it to a quirk of human cognition. Instead, they explore the idea that the Mandela Effect may be evidence of something extraordinary, something cosmic, even spiritual. One of the most discussed fringe theories involves the idea of dimensional convergence. In this scenario, multiple timelines or parallel realities are not merely existing side by side, but gradually merging. As these realities overlap, elements from each one bleed into the other, causing small but noticeable changes in language, history, and memory. According to this theory, those who experience the Mandela Effect are not mistaken, but sensitive. They are the ones who can perceive the seams where timelines have fused. While mainstream science has not validated this idea, it has become a foundational belief within many Mandela Effect communities, especially among those who feel a deep personal connection to the phenomenon. Another fringe theory proposes that the Mandela Effect is not the result of timelines merging, but of humanity ascending into a higher dimension of consciousness. This perspective is often tied to New Age thought, which describes the Earth as transitioning from a three-dimensional to a five-dimensional state of awareness. In this context, reality becomes less fixed and more fluid, and what we perceive as changes in memory are in fact the natural byproducts of this spiritual evolution. Some adherents claim that the Mandela Effect is a sign that old paradigms are breaking down and that we are awakening to a more malleable, conscious universe. There are also those who believe the Mandela Effect is the result of intentional manipulation by hidden forces. This line of thought often ties into broader conspiracy theories involving elite groups or unknown intelligences capable of altering perception or rewriting elements of the past. Some believe this is being done through advanced quantum computing, frequency manipulation, or even ancient technologies rediscovered and hidden from the public. While there is no proof of such operations, these ideas reflect a growing sense of mistrust in official narratives and a belief that our reality may be more controlled than it appears. The idea of a simulated universe is perhaps the most philosophically complex explanation. Popularized by physicists and futurists alike, simulation theory suggests that our entire existence may be a digital construction, a program being run by an intelligence beyond our comprehension. Within this model, Mandela Effect anomalies could be seen as software glitches, overwritten code, or system updates. Those who notice the changes are, in essence, detecting flaws in the program. While this idea is often dismissed as speculative fiction, it has gained surprising traction among scientists, technologists, and thinkers exploring the nature of consciousness and artificial intelligence. Across all of these theories, one theme remains consistent: the idea that reality is not as stable as we once believed. Whether it is being altered by machines, manipulated by unseen forces, or reshaped through spiritual evolution, The Mandela Effect becomes a lens through which deeper mysteries can be explored. These speculative angles, while not provable by conventional means, offer a broader and more imaginative view of what the phenomenon might mean for humanity as a whole. Rather than dismissing it as error, these theories invite us to entertain the possibility that something much more profound is happening, not just around us, but within us. The Mandela Effect, whether seen as a glitch in the matrix, a neurological illusion, or a clue to a deeper metaphysical truth, continues to challenge how we define what is real. In a world increasingly shaped by digital information, fragmented truths, and rapidly shifting cultural narratives, the idea that our memories might no longer align with objective reality is both unsettling and transformative. It pushes us to reconsider our trust in perception, our dependence on shared experience, and the fragile nature of historical record. What makes the Mandela Effect unique among modern phenomena is not just the volume of reports, but the emotional certainty expressed by those who experience it. These are not vague recollections. They are vivid, confident, and often accompanied by a sense of disorientation, even betrayal. When the world no longer matches one's memory of it, it forces a kind of cognitive reckoning. For some, this creates deep frustration. For others, it becomes a catalyst for awakening, for questioning long-held assumptions about how reality operates. There is no single explanation that satisfies every perspective. Psychologists will point to memory distortion, misattribution, and social reinforcement. Physicists may raise speculative models of multiverses, quantum timelines, or simulated dimensions. Meanwhile, those in spiritual or esoteric communities may view the Mandela Effect as evidence of collective consciousness shifts or signs of a coming paradigm change. These explanations do not cancel each other out. Instead, they reflect the many layers through which human beings interpret the world, through science, spirit, logic, and myth. The Mandela Effect also reminds us that truth may be less absolute than we assume, that what we call reality may be a negotiated space, constantly filtered through biology, culture, memory, and language. When those filters shift, even subtly, the world appears different. And in those differences, we find mystery, the kind that cannot be measured in data, but only felt through experience. For some, this phenomenon confirms long-held suspicions that the world is more complex, more mutable than it appears. For others, it is an invitation to explore, to dig deeper, ask harder questions, and remain open to possibilities that defy conventional logic. Whether the Mandela Effect is a clue to a fragmented multiverse, a psychological echo, or a hidden manipulation of memory, its power lies in what it reveals: a collective willingness to question, to wonder, and to search for truth in an increasingly uncertain world. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Conspiracy Files with Zoe Parker. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to support the show and unlock bonus content, subscribe to the Forbidden Knowledge Network on Patreon. Subscribe now.